Hey there guys, so there has been no shortage of footage from Anthony Joshua about his new training program as he prepares to probably go into camp pretty soon for Andy Ruiz. Probably not at the moment, but he will be looking at that very soon because November and December, it's surprising it will be creeping up on us. So that will be here before you know it. So he is just toning his boxing skills and working on a few things. I mean, he's not intense training because that would be silly at this stage because he has a whole camp ahead of him. So he's just ticking over, working on a few things, and just toning his boxing skills. Now, some of the things he has been working on clearly indicates that he has been working on his distance and his timing. Now, in the first fight with Andy Ruiz, he was fighting okay, but he was fighting on the back foot, which wasn't a good thing because Andy Ruiz was allowed to apply pressure on Anthony Joshua, which you never want from a fighter like Andy Ruiz, whose game is to take it to the other fighter, get on the inside, and worked the body. And he was able to do that against Anthony Joshua, and Anthony Joshua let him because that seemed to be Anthony Joshua's game plan, although I don't know whether that was a game plan going in because Rob McCracken was not happy with what he was doing. He was trying to give Anthony Joshua advice, but I think after the third round, Anthony Joshua was concussed and he wasn't absorbing any information really because he wasn't putting into plan what Rob McCracken was saying in the corner. Now, in the first two rounds, Anthony Joshua, I'd say, won the first round, and I scored the second round pretty even. And then there was chaos in the third round. Obviously, Joshua dropped him, he dropped Joshua twice, and the whole tone of the fight just went upside down. And Anthony Joshua was on the back foot from then on, and he just seemed to be looking for one punch just to try and end it, take Andy Ruiz out. And the reason behind that is he was badly concussed, obviously, from the barrage of punches in the third round, and he just wasn't there. His legs were stiff, and he could not move out the way of punches. He was backing up and retreating to the ropes in straight lines, which is never a good thing in boxing. You are always taught to move off in angles, but considering Anthony Joshua was concussed and badly hurt from the third round onwards, there was not a lot he could really do. His legs were stiff, and I don't think he could use angles even if he wanted to. He was always going to be hurt after that punch, and he could never really recover because Andy Ruiz was taking it to the body, so Anthony Joshua could not find that second wind. And where he's a big guy, the lactic acid kicked in, and again, he just didn't find second wind. In the next fight, possibly he will be lighter, and again, he's working on his timing and distance. That is going to be a big factor in the next fight. I believe what he should do, and I mean, it's not going to be a very exciting fight if he does fight like this, at least for the first few rounds, but I think what he needs to do is keep Andy Ruiz on the end of a jab, and anytime he does try and rush in, set traps, hit him with that hard right hand, and Andy Ruiz will struggle to get on the inside, and if he cannot get on the inside, he can do nothing to Anthony Joshua. And anytime he does get past the jab and the right hand, grab hold of him, tie him up. That's what Anthony Joshua wasn't doing. He was grabbing him around his neck, and Andy Ruiz's arms were still free. Where he has shorter arms, he can go to work still, especially on the inside like that, in a clinch. So what Anthony Joshua must do is grab his arms from under his armpits, lift his arms in the air, then Andy Ruiz cannot go to work, and he can just turn him and then go back to centre ring. If you look at the fight between George Groves and Chris Eubank Jr., that is how George Groves nullified the threat of Chris Eubank Jr. Chris Eubank Jr. was the faster fighter. Some even say he was the more powerful fighter in there. But what George Groves did, keep him on the end of the jab, use slight foot adjustments, and hit him hard with a right hand any time he tried to rush in. And any time he did get past that, grabbed hold of him, tied him up, and turned him. And then Chris Eubank Jr. could do nothing. And that's the same thing what Anthony Joshua must do against Andy Ruiz. Also, if he keeps doing that and leaning on him, Andy Ruiz will get tired. Then maybe in round 6 onwards, he could look for the stoppage then, but not before that. He must make sure that Andy Ruiz is tired because Andy Ruiz went down last time, got straight back up and knocked Anthony Joshua down. So Andy Ruiz is not just going to take a few punches and go down without a fight because we know that from the first fight. So that is what Anthony Joshua seems to be working on, judging by his footage that he has put out there, his timing and his distance. And I do believe that is the key to his success in the Andy Ruiz Jr. rematch. Guys, what are your thoughts on Anthony Joshua's latest training footage? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, click the thumbs up and subscribe if you are new. Thanks guys.